Salam Media, and you are tuned into the Ashraf Garda.
Right, every day around this time we chat finance and the markets and all that sort of thing that's really important that impacts your life, whether you like it or whether you don't. My guest is Keletso Mphomane, who's an investment associate at 27 4. Now, 27 4 is spelled the number 27 and the numbers 27 and the letters 4. So 27 4. Right, Keletso, appreciate your time. Good morning.
Good morning, Ashraf, and good morning
Thank
to your listeners.
Thank you. If you can just raise your volume a little bit, if it's possible, because we're just battling to hear you very clearly now. Yeah.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yeah, I just want to get the thumbs up. I think it's okay. I'm just going to, yeah, I think it's much better. Right, appreciate that. Okay, you want to talk about what bank deposits in relation to the Reserve Bank? Tell me about that.
Those are good news. Just by the way, yesterday you asked me for good news. So, following several global banks that have been collapsing and post the 2008 financial crisis, we've seen how vulnerable bank depositors, myself and yourself, and the rest of South African bank depositors, they're vulnerable in case of a bank failure. So the South African Reserve Bank have come up with, they've established an entity called Corporation of Deposit. It's called CODI, which is short for Corporation of Deposit Insurance. What this entity will do, it was established on the 24th of March. What this entity will do, it will have a fund which is called DIS, short for Deposit Insurance Scheme, and it will be funded by members of CODI, which are the commercial banks in the country. Commercial banks, all the banks basically in the country, and they'll be paying a premium into this fund, which will then be used in case of a bank failure. The South African Reserve Bank will guarantee bank depositors up to 100,000 Rand of their deposits in case of a bank failure. So this is, yes, sorry.
So it's interesting. I mean, I was going to say that is, I think that's really important news because that prevents a run on a bank when there's even rumors, even if it's not true, that, hey, this bank's in trouble. Like, are you going to lose your money? But then you've sort of blown the bubble by your last comment, right? Which is that it's up to 100,000 Rands. I'm going to suggest that, if a person's got 4 and 5 and 10 and 20 million Rands, that's not going to help them at all.
Correct. So if you have more than 100,000 Rands, they can only cover you up until 100,000 Rand. That's the cap. So prior to that, this would the government would have to step in and pay using tax money to save this banks and deposit and guarantee deposits. So this is good news, like I said, because prior to that, we were never sure if the bank would step in to save banks or if your deposits would be guaranteed. But currently, every single person that banks with these commercial banks or mutual banks, they will be guaranteed, and you'll get your deposit within 20 days. Before, it used to take long. So these are good news to come out of this.
Okay, so good news up to 100,000 Rands. Beyond the 100,000, it's not that good news at this point in time. Just got that right. Let's talk about the oil price surge.
Okay, so this is bad news, I guess, in the global market. Several large countries that export oil have come up and say they will be cutting their production level of oil, and in these countries are part of the OPEC plus. OPEC plus, excuse me. OPEC consists of 23 oil exporters in the world, and off of that, they meet regularly. It was actually established to fix prices and supply of oil in the global market. So of that 23, there's 13 which makes up the OPEC. These are the countries that started OPEC in 1960s. these group of countries, they meet regularly to decide on how much oil they'll sell to the world. So
Yeah.
outside of the United States of America is the largest producer of oil. These countries are the largest producers of oil, and they export to the world. So the United States produce and they use most of it within the United States. So this one impacts the world because they export outside of the world.
Okay,
So
so
they
largest exporter versus largest producer, which is where there's a difference that comes. I mean, I think that's where countries like Saudi Arabia and Qatar gets involved. I think Venezuela to be impacted by that. Absolutely. Okay. Anything else you want to pick up on?
So I just on the same topic,
Yeah.
this undermines most of the efforts that central banks have been trying to do to decrease or tame inflation. So should these prices, which they probably will from beginning of May, it will undermine the efforts that central banks have been trying to do to tame inflation.
And
But
bottom
they
line, and it'll affect you and I. I mean, that's the really bad news, which already with inflation as high as it is, and interest rates going up, and petrol on an ongoing slide, advance upwards. No, that's not good news. All right. Hopefully, some better news tomorrow. Thank you so much for your time.
thank you, Ashraf.
There we are. But then we do this every day, right? And hopefully you learn so much from those conversations with the Keletso Mphomane, who's an investment associate at 274. Right. Let's learn about what's happened in Kenwyn in the Western Cape with that mosque at Waterloo Road that we touched on yesterday. That's what we talk about next.